Oh my God, Anita.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I hope everybody's doing well. For those who are listening out there at this late hour, I was about ready to go to bed, and I happened to be online and Turncoat Don. And if you're not familiar with Turncoat Don, I will leave you the link. I will leave you. I'll be glad to leave you the link to his channel at the end of the video. He has his satire video where he does political commentary, or she, I don't know what the person looks like, follows me on Twitter. And anyway, I am very grateful for that. And I follow Turncoat Don over there too, and subscribe to this channel. So I urge each and every one of you to subscribe to Turncoat Don and follow Turncoat Don on Twitter. So anyway, I'm going to play you a part from the Bill Maher show, Real Time, where Krystal Ball was the guest, and they're having their discussion about Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, and I will share a few words momentarily afterwards. So it's very important because I've been sort of saying what Krystal Ball's been saying, and I think we need to have this conversation. So hold on. Let me do this here. And let me do this here. Okay, we'll get started right now. Since I find that, there we go.
All right. He's a columnist for Tablet Magazine and author of the New York Times bestselling book, Secret City, The Hidden History of Gay Washington, James Kirchick. Jamie, good to see you. And she's the co-host of two podcasts, Breaking Points with Krystal and Cigar, and Kyle, and friends. I'm bad at names. Krystal Ball is over here. Krystal Ball. All right. So I'm going to talk about the hearings again at first, because I know we talked about it last week, but I don't care. I still don't think people understand how giant this thing is. And to me, the headline was, they knew it. They all knew what they were doing was wrong, and they did it anyway. And here's the stat. 54% of people now in this country, the people, remember them? Because I don't trust the majority of Americans. The people, remember them? Think Trump should be charged with a crime, including one guy in our audience does. So that's another one. 71% of Republicans think he should be charged with the crime. I don't even know what we're doing this for if he's not. So the question that's in my mind is, gosh, if we only had some sort of Justice Department. But the committee says they will not refer this to the Justice Department. Why? Why isn't it moving into that realm? And if we don't,
you can see what's happening to Bill Maher here. He's being the shit lib that he's being, and we all agree that Trump is pretty bad. I mean, he's not a force for good. We can agree with that. But he takes this derangement syndrome to a level. I mean, and it's amazing how this guy Bill Maher, he ends up being more of a corporate Democrat shit lib, and then falls into also never Trumper land of Ben Shapiro at the same time. I'm not kidding you. That's where he's headed right now. Well, I'll let him talk.
it'll just happen again, no?
I think that there is a fundamental lack of seriousness from the Democrats when it comes to solving the problems, not only that led us to January 6th, which I actually think is the deeper issue and the deeper question here. How did we get to a place where a good percentage of the country is convinced the election was stolen, where they would listen to this maniac, where they actually think that they're patriots storming the Capitol to restore democracy? How did we get there? And then you can see that they're not actually serious about how existential this threat is by the fact that they are propping up candidates who believe this nonsense. I mean, in Pennsylvania, this is what's actually really scares me.
But that's not really my question. I mean, yes, if a guy robs a liquor store, let's look into why he did that. But also, he needs to be arrested for robbing the liquor store. Let's look into why, what was in his mind, and like he was poor. And
you should understand the consequences of this, and I think that Donald Trump is a menace, and he may have committed crimes.
And this is our periodic reminder that we don't like Trump.
But let's think about the consequences of prosecuting a former president who might run again. You know, Gerald Ford, I'm not saying Gerald Ford in 1975, after 74, in the Watergate crisis, he did the right thing by pardoning Richard Nixon. There was a long national nightmare, and it ended. I just think we have to be very careful about how we approach this.
Nixon did not try to undermine democracy itself.
I object to the votes from the state of Wisconsin.
Actually, Nixon undermined democracies in some other countries, and with the Watergate scandal, remember, he was trying to find dirt on George McGovern. That's what the Watergate scandal was all about. So he was undermining democracy. Now, is Nixon, is he the ass that many Democrats and Republicans became in the White House? Like Michael Moore said, sadly enough, he might have been America's last liberal president. That's the low bar that we live under right now. But I will let everyone else continue.
Which should not be legally certified.
Mr. President, I object to the certificate from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the electoral votes were not.
There's no debate. I object to a certificate from the state of North Carolina.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina.
I object to the certificate from the state of Alabama. The electors were not lawfully certified.
Well, he was breaking the law.
Yes, Trump broke the law.
Here's a couple of things. So first of all, I actually have no issue with Trump being prosecuted.
And this is our periodic reminder that we don't like Trump.
And I have.
And if we're talking about prosecuting, please, let's remember that we need to go and we're going to start prosecuting presidents. Remember George W. Bush? Remember that guy? We're going to be talking about him in a few minutes, but we'll let everybody else continue.
A lot of issue with elites being left unaccountable for the crimes that they commit, number one. Number two, that's not going to solve our problem. Do you think that Ron DeSantis is going to be way better than Donald Trump?
Yes.
I mean, that's my issue.
He's not going to be the enemy of democracy in the same way.
I'd like to answer that. Yes, I do.
I don't know how you could say that. Because he's clearly modeled himself in the footsteps of Donald Trump, I
Ron
mean, you see
DeSantis,
the way that
he
these
hasn't
people all
shown
follow
contempt
in
for
the
democratic.
footsteps.
He hasn't shown contempt for democratic
He's-
processes.
He's
like
not
Trump has.
certifiably insane.
That too.
That's a
That
great
too.
one to start off with. You know what Ron DeSantis won't be doing? He won't be poop tweeting every day. He won't be like having feuds with Bette Midler on Twitter. He's not an insane person.
So if Trump were to
Okay. It's amazing. People don't even realize this, that there's a hell of a lot many people out there that are to the right of Trump. Most never Trumpers in 2016 were to the right of Trump. They didn't like Trump because he wasn't conservative enough in their eyes. And in 2020, when he governed very conservatively, all of a sudden they started to love him and adore him. I've always said that the worst people in the political discourse in America were the never Trumpers in 2016 that became pro-Trump sycophants. They are the worst people around because they hated Trump for the wrong reasons, and then they adored Trump for the wrong reasons. And they are the worst people imaginable. But here's the thing. Bill Maher is like a lot of other shitlebs, and even a lot of Republicans out there. A lot of Republicans love the policies of Donald Trump. They love the tax cuts. They love the deregulation. They love these things. I mean, when it came to foreign policy, they loved the Qasem Soleimani murder, which was a violation of international law. Wherever you think of the Israeli-Palestinian issue, was absolutely insane to move the embassy from Tel Aviv, which is a secular city, to Jerusalem, which is very, very religious in nature, and it was going to cause more problems down the road. So, I mean, just to appeal to evangelicals, because let's say when it comes to Israel, he doesn't give a damn about the Jewish question as far as supporting the country or peace in that region. He cares about evangelicals and what the evangelicals want for Israel and for the Middle East is actually will turn the whole region into burnt toast down the road, and that's bad for everybody. But getting back to Donald Trump, I mean, the Republicans love a lot of his policies. They love everything that was horrible about George W. Bush and George Herbert Walker Bush and Ronald Reagan. But they didn't like the fact that he tweeted and had bad manners, according to them, and he was rude. They didn't like the comedy show. And I will be talking about that comedy show in a moment. They just thought he was just a savage. Anyway, I'll let them continue, and I will comment some more. So give me a moment here.
to continue all of the policies that he currently is, but comport himself differently, would that make a big difference to you?
Yeah, actually, it would. The truth is, it really
Exactly.
would.
So that just shows you that it's an aesthetic critique.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the underlying ideas or the policies or the orientation of it. And it's exactly that shows you the hollowness of Biden's campaign himself. It's just like, I will act like a president. Now, look, a lot of people want that in this country. I don't want to, dismiss that. I think it.
And Sugar is correct. They wanted normality when it came to the 2020 election, and they got normality, but they also got no fundamental changes. Joe Biden did keep his promise. There would be no fundamental changes. He promised that. And again, no $15 hour minimum wage, no public option, no student debt relief, none of that. I mean, it was some promises about to pull out of Afghanistan, but then all of a sudden, we are now in a situation with Russia over Russia-Ukraine, and you have neocons from both parties beating the drums for war, which is absolutely ridiculous. And, and as far as human rights abuse is concerned, I mean, we have an American government that's trying to extradite Julian Assange that nobody talks about. That's pretty much not even a mention these days. And that's a human right abuse right there that's taking place. And when he should be pardoning Julian Assange. And shame on Donald Trump when there was a little bit of hope that he might have pardon. There was a hope that he could pardon Julian Assange. He didn't either, and because Mitch McConnell cautioned him not to. So some populist he turned out to be. So and all that. But the thing about it is that Krystal Ball is correct. She is correct. He's more dangerous. Because the thing about it is that he acts like a grown up. I'm talking about Ron DeSantis. He acts like a grown up, and the fact that he acts like a grown up and all of that. He's what the Republican establishment wants. They want somebody who's serious, who has the serious demeanor without the comedy show. They get that with Ron DeSantis. They also need that crazy lunatic base that adores Donald Trump right now. And you talk about grifter. Donald Trump is a grifter, and to prove that Donald Trump is a grifter, the term shit lib is throwing a whole lot around these days. But there was a time that Donald Trump himself was quite the shit lib guy himself when he was hanging out with Bill and Hillary Clinton. Man voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Then all of a sudden he was questioning his birth certificate in 2011 and 2012. This is Donald Trump. He was for single payer 1 year back in the early 2000s, and then all of a sudden, he talks about socialized medicine and how terrible it is and all of that. And Donald Trump speaks out of both sides of his mouth. The character flaw that the right wing claim was true about Bill Clinton, they overlook it with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump basically is a Republican Bill Clinton. He is basically a Republican Bill Clinton. It's no wonder Hillary hates him. You think about it. I never really thought about it that way. He is the Republican Bill Clinton. He really is. But then again, Bill Clinton is a Republican himself. When you think about what he did with the Democratic Leadership Council in the 1990s, Reaganizing the Democratic Party and tossing away its New Deal heritage and ideology and values and all of that. So Bill Maher doesn't get it, and he's like a lot of shit libs that don't get it. And so what's going to happen is that that when Ron DeSantis become president, and it's a very strong likelihood that he's going to become president. Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire have actually warned people too recently about Ron DeSantis too. So I'm not the only crazy person around. They're not crazy, but maybe I am. But the point is, I am correct, and other people are kind of realizing that. Isn't this a sickening picture right here? George W. Bush being rehabilitated. This is just absolutely nauseating, just think of what he did on the world scene during his presidency, and just think of how he put this country on the verge of another Great Depression with the hyper deregulation and all of that. And he tried, never forget that he attempted to privatize Social Security. Never, ever forget that. Never forget that he means tested VA benefits. My dad cannot get VA benefits, and he is a veteran. He cannot get VA benefits because he quote unquote makes too much money. That's what's happening right now. With the legacy that Bush has left us. And what do these liberals do? These shit libs, they go and embrace George W. Bush like he's one of us now. He's one of us now. Well, whether some people think I'm a liberal, or some people think I'm a social democrat, some people think I'm a generic leftist or a socialist or what have you. The thing is, I would never recognize George W. Bush. I would never recognize George W. Bush. He is not one of my own. I won't forgive him for what he's done, what he's done to this country, what he's done to the world. He's made the world a more dangerous place. I mean, and for those that hate Donald Trump, George W. Bush caused Donald Trump to come into existence. Never, ever, ever forget that. So that's just one more reminder of that and everything. And somebody speaks the truth of that. Somebody say, "Oh, well, you're just defending Donald Trump." No, Donald Trump is terrible. I mean, he catered to the corporate special interests. He catered to the religious right. He catered to the foreign policy neocons. Maybe not as bad as Bush and Cheney, but he still did at the end of the day, walking away from the U.S.-Iran peace treaty, got the U.S. out of the Paris Accord with regard to climate change. And he actually tried in the United States, tried to impose an insurrection act during the summer of 2020 with regard to some of the protests that was taking place during the summer of 2020 with regard to the death of George Floyd earlier. So there's that. But here's the thing: if Ron DeSantis become president, I'm going to make a prediction, and you'll see it on my thumbnail soon. When I usually download my thumbnail when I'm done with my video, but this is a cruder version of what I made, which you will see on my thumbnail once it's actually on my thumbnail when the video's done. Is this, because George W. Bush got rehabilitated, just as Richard Nixon in the past got rehabilitated. So did Ronald Reagan, and I predict that Donald Trump will be rehabilitated down the road too. And it'll be something like this. It'll be something, instead of Michelle Obama hanging out with George W. Bush, it'll be Donald Trump and AOC. Don't be shocked if you ever see this happening, because Ron DeSantis would be so dangerous that Donald Trump would be like, "I didn't expect to create this monster." I can almost see this scenario happening. I joke with some friends about how weird Boris Johnson in the UK was during the early years of Donald Trump's presidency. I said, "Oh my God," I could almost see a scenario where Boris Johnson becomes the leader of the Conservative Party, and then he, then becomes the prime minister, because that's how it works in the UK. And oh my gosh, that's what happened. They were there side by side, Britain's Donald Trump, except he's a little smarter than Donald Trump, and actually to the left of Joe Biden. I would actually rather have Boris Johnson as president over Joe Biden here, tell you the truth. He says that NHS saved his life, whereas Joe Biden promised to veto Medicare for all. I mean, he denounced the overturning of the Supreme Court decision on Roe versus Wade. That is Boris Johnson. Yeah, that's a conservative. So the UK Conservative Party is to the left of the Democrats here in the United States, and that's the sad state of affairs here in America. That's the sad state of affairs. I've said that to some conservative friends, and they're like, "No, that's what we love best about America. It's the Overton windows to the right of many European countries and other advanced countries." No, it is not. It's a shame. It's actually criminal, quite criminal, that we have such a hard right Overton window. So here we have on the chat line, good morning, Sky Warp. "I've lost all hope in this country. I'm afraid we may very well end up with a fascist like DeSantis as president in 2024, and Biden will probably run again, ensuring a Republican victory." I believe that DeSantis, unfortunately, will be president. And I say this I'm not happy about this. I live in a red state. I will still vote for a third party. North Carolina is Republican and Republican all the way. There's no way North Carolina's. I know North Carolina went for Obama in 2008, but it's going to stay Republican. It's hopelessly a red state. I might as well vote my conscience and not feel dirty. But I think that Joe Biden will step down probably sometime next year. And maybe what I'm saying is going to age like sour milk. But I think that Joe Biden will step down because, he's just, his brain is melting. I mean, he's got dementia for damn sure. He does. Let's see here. So I agree that DeSantis will probably become president. And I say this with dread, but I also think that Joe Biden will not be running in the second term. I think that he will resign because the dementia, but I think the party will ask him to resign because the Republicans are going to take over the Congress and they're going to try to remove Biden. And I think that may be a way out for Biden if he steps down due to health. He has that as an excuse. Let's see. Sadly, most of the liberals I know has the same dumb fuck opinions as Bill Maher. I feel that many liberals are almost as politically uneducated as conservatives. They are. It's just something I've noticed in the last 3 decades. I mean, since the 1990s. I mean, well, I didn't notice it so much in the beginning of the 1990s. By 1994, I started to notice it when the Republicans took over the House for the first time and the Senate together for the first time since 1954. I noticed that the Democrats, they felt like the only way to win is to move further right, and the Republicans knew that that's how the Democrats operated, and so. So every time the Republicans drew the line in the sand, the Democrats played patty cake, and they just sit there and wag their finger at the left and say, "You're being troublemakers." And I had just noticed that, and then the Democrats pretty much just tell left-wing people who are upset with the Democrats for going further left, they just tell them, "Hey, just vote harder," and that's all you get from them: vote harder. I mean, that's not an answer. But that's all I ever get from them, and then they get mad when I get frustrated. And believe me, I had a lot of arguments over the years with Democrats. I mean, I've argued plenty with conservatives. Still do to this day. But there's plenty liberals that I have argued with too because they don't get it. Bill Maher sort of used to get it. But he went from supporting Bernie Sanders in 2016 to supporting Amy Klobuchar in 2020. And now he's on this weird path of embracing corporate Democrats like the Clinton people on one hand, but he's having a dialogue with Ben Shapiro on the other hand. And that makes Bill Maher a horrible individual. I mean, it makes Bill Maher just a horrible human being as far as I'm concerned. And good for Krystal Ball, the way she handled herself on that program. I guess about 2 weeks ago, when she was on Real Time with Bill Maher. He was improving. When I first started watching Politically Incorrect back in the 1990s, I saw some promise with him. I was just like, he just needs some encouragement. And there were some issues where I never was able to see eye to eye with, but overall, he started to improve until the Trump derangement syndrome thing just kind of fucked with his head. And he's just been going downhill. It's just been going downhill since then. And it's amazing what that orange man has done to people. I mean, it's turned some sensible people that I used to know, and I still know, and are good people overall. But it's turned some of them into people as irrational as a lot of the Republican right that I have dealt with over the years. It's really nuts. And it's gotten so to the point where if you're not just to the left of corporate Democrats, you can even be radical left. I mean, you could be hard left, and you're still called right wing if you principally realize what corporate Democrats and shit libs are for what they are, and they still manage to call you right wing. And anyway, it's crazy. I respect actual hardcore leftists if they accuse me of being right wing, which I'm not, but I would respect them a hell of a lot more than I do a Bill and Hillary Clinton liberal type calling me right wing. And believe me, they have. I've been called right wing. By people to my right. I've been called right wing to people to my right. People to my right call me right wing. So it's kind of frustrating in that regard. So anyway, let's see here. Right, let's see. I used to love Bill Maher back in the day. He comes across as very conservative to me now. And me too. Absolutely. Yeah, very condescending and very conservative. And I'm just like, I have no respect for the man anymore. I mean, maybe the only area that he might still be okay on, he seems to be okay on the issue of free speech. And that might be to the extent, but everything else, I mean, his whole politics otherwise is just garbage these days. I just think he's garbage as a human being now. I mean, because he's out of touch. He is out of touch, and he just anything he doesn't like is woke, just like with the Republicans these days, the crazy Republicans. It used to be anything they didn't like was socialism. Anything they didn't like was communism. Now everything they don't like, you disagree with them, they're calling you a pedophile. Nobody likes pedophiles, but they're calling you a pedophile if you disagree with them. Or with regard to the Democrats, I mean, they'll call anybody who disagree with them a racist. And there's a lot of folks who are racist that deserve to be called racist. But, sometimes it is kind of a weak argument too, when if you disagree on a tax policy or something like that, to call somebody a racist asshole, that's dumb. Why don't you just, those kind of, you're going to debate on tax policy, don't call somebody a racist. I mean, you call somebody a racist if they tell you that Barack Obama is a secret Muslim born in Kenya, and they're walking around with a sign with a poster with Obama dressed up as a witch doctor. Now that's racist, but they'll get mad and say, well, don't you call me a racist just because I walk around with an Obama banner dressed up as a witch doctor. That's the kind of mentality you have to deal with. So let's see. Me too. I've had milquetoast liberals call me right wing because of my criticism of the Democratic Party. That's the right word, the correct word. Milquetoast liberals, libtards, shit libs, centrists. I mean, they've been driving me nuts. And Jimmy Dore said this best. And Jimmy Dore said, in 2000, they hated Ralph Nader because he supposedly gave us George W. Bush. And now they love George W. Bush, and they still hate Ralph Nader. And that's what we're dealing with. That's the mentality we are dealing with. So anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to continue to support independent media, because we all need to help each other and to find an alternative to the corporate slop that passes for news information these days. And until next time, I will conclude by saying to you all what I normally say, and that is music.